Last week I had the sweet joy of biking along the Bear Creek Greenway. I was delighted by the cacophony of bird songs, the many species of winged beings, locusts and moths and butterflies, vultures, crows, jays, songbirds. I saw their vibrant shades of green and seeds of every kind bursting from their seed pods. And there was a true and beautiful chaos of new growth. It was overcoming the remnants of the once burned landscape from the Alameda fire 2 years ago. And as I biked on that beautiful autumn afternoon, I saw life. So much life. And I marveled at the way life can push itself through what was once destruction. There's a song I have loved for a very long time, and it talks about how our children are the sons and the daughters of life longing for itself. It's beautiful. And this was so exemplified by what I saw in that greenway, life longing for itself. Tonight is Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur means a day or the day of atonement. This root, kaf, pei, resh, of Kippur, that we translate as atonement, can also mean purging, clearing, letting go, forgiving, releasing, covering up sins, missteps, being lost, going astray, wandering, imperfection. Yom Kippur is a day when we acknowledge our humanity, and a day when Judaism says we are human and imperfect, every one of us, and we are not alone. Let us work together on this. And our tradition offers us a way to do this work, to move through the truth of our imperfections, to understand and work with them, to release and grow from them, and to be set free for the next chapter of our lives, for the next year. And because of this, I think ultimately Yom Kippur is a day of life longing for itself, to push itself through the destruction of all that comes and goes and rises and falls and trips and recovers and runs and retreats in our complex and entirely human lives. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner writes similarly, but seemingly conversely at first, saying, Yom Kippur is a day of death, the death of the old year, the death of the old sins, and the death of the old ego. But it is not morbid. Indeed, it is predicated on the hope and a prayer that a new year, and above all, a new ego, will be born the exact moment of that final Tekiah Gedolah, the shofar blast, when it is sounded. It is a day of death, so there can be new life. In the Torah portion that we will read tomorrow, we will read of a particular ritual of the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, Aaron, which is performed on Yom Kippur, in which atonement is done for himself and the entire community. It is quite an elaborate ritual in which the high priest Aaron bathes, dresses in simple, unadorned linen clothing, and then he takes 2 goats and a ram to atone for the community, as well as a bull to atone for himself. And the goats first stand before God, and then one is sacrificed and burned for God as a sin offering, and the other continues to stand and witness the other sacrifices that take place. And during all these sacrifices, incense is burning. And after the sacrifices, the blood of the sacrificed animals is sprinkled on the altar as an act of purification, because blood was believed to be sacred and purifying, a kind of detergent. And then Aaron lays his hands on the living goat to put upon it the sins of the people, and then the goat is sent out into the wilderness. And then Aaron puts on his clothes, or takes off his clothes and puts them on the altar, enters a period of seclusion, bathes, and gets dressed again in all his fanciness. One commentator, Sarah Polster, wrote that what struck her about this ritual is its unrelenting physicality. And it's so true. And from this entirely physical ritual, Aaron is restored, his family is restored, the entire community is restored into right relationship with God. They are all now atoned. Sarah Polster adds in her commentary, to understand this, we must put aside our knee-jerk repugnance for ritual sacrifice, which had a very different meaning for Aaron then than it does for us today. The equivalent for us, I think, would be to take a week's paycheck and set it on fire. It's about giving up to God some basic element of our sustenance without which we could not live. But even as we are repelled by the image of animal sacrifice, I think we can nonetheless appreciate the power in such a ritual that was Aaron's familiar way to approach God. And then there is an innovation for Aaron in this ritual. His confession of sin had never been done before as part of this kind of ceremony. God invites Aaron to speak his sins aloud and the sins of the people, and then offers him a way to let them go. And it is Aaron's letting go of sin, not God's judgment of sin, that sets Aaron free and returns him and his people to joyful participation in a covenantal relationship, a two-way relationship. And this is the sort of relationship into which God is inviting all of us on this holy day. Not one in which we are judged, but one in which we are released. And so today, while we do not do these elaborate sacrificial goat-releasing rituals, we bring in the words of the Torah that give us the image of the sacrifices and of the release, of the holiest person in the community speaking out loud how he has gone astray, and then he is, and thus we are released. With this image from Torah that says, burn it, smoke it, bathe it, smudge it, have it carried away, we are given a story to help us imagine that we can metaphorically do this ritual of release too. And it is more than silently wishing it or thinking it away. And then we have in our hands in the Machzor this amazing liturgy, which literally the prayers of our people were created to replace sacrifice. And this liturgy helps us to speak out loud those things that we need to burn and those things that we need to send out into the wilderness. And then we combine this with fasting as we are able, which is a very embodied act, something we can deeply feel as the day moves along. And then we dress simply, unadorned, in white, no leather, some of us in our kittles in which we were married and in which we will be buried, just like the high priest. And this too is a way of embodying this ritual of atonement. And then there is work we may have done up until this day, since Tisha B'Av, or since the new moon of Elul, or since Rosh Hashanah, and or with the work that we will do now through, all the way through that final blast of the shofar tomorrow night. And this work is work of looking at ourselves, being real and true and honest, going to others and apologizing, going to ourselves and apologizing, going to our higher power as we know it and apologizing. And all of these facets come together on this day and become a particularly powerful and much needed healing potion or spiritual remedy of Judaism. Nobel Prize winner S.Y. Agnon wrote that this work we do on this revered day assures the world of survival. We need to be released so that we can save the world. It's ultimately about survival. Importantly, at the beginning of the Torah portion that we'll read tomorrow, Aaron is warned to be very careful to follow the ritual recipe and perform this healing potion so that he will live, unlike his sons who did it wrong and died. And Aaron does it right, and he lives. On Yom Kippur, we imagine that we are Aaron, courageously taking the time to speak about our missteps and those of our fellow human beings. We say, Ashamnu, we have trespassed. Bagadnu, we have betrayed. Gazalnu, we have stolen. Dibarnu dofi, we have slandered. And so much more. Whether we did these things or not, we say them. Because when we speak these words out loud together as a community, we speak on behalf of others in our community as Aaron did for us. We are not alone. We are in solidarity. We own the fullness of our humanity together. We all have regrets. We all yearn to release them. We all want to be released and free and awake and alive and strong going into the next chapter of our life journey. My son Benjamin reflected on this practice. He said, it's like a moment of silence that the whole community takes. It is of such a great order of magnitude, all of us in the world using the same words at the same time. And he added, spiritual illness can hurt the community. And Yom Kippur knows this, and Aaron knew this, and the Torah ritual knew this. We need to all tend ourselves so that we can all be tended. We need to heal ourselves, and we will thus heal the community. We need to save ourselves so that we can save the world. We need to atone for ourselves so we can atone for each other. We need to be the high priest for ourselves and for each other. As I studied the Torah text that we'll read tomorrow, I was taking notes. And I kept writing down the very often repeated English letters that represent the three-letter root that means atonement. Kaf, Pe, Resh. But I wrote it as C-P-R. C for Kaf, P for Pe, R for Resh. And after a while, I looked down at my notes and that I saw that I had written, on Yom Kippur, we need CPR. What I meant was we need to expiate and purge the residue from us. But what my English-speaking mind saw, as you all heard, on Yom Kippur, we need CPR, as in cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Yom Kippur is something we do to bring ourselves back to life. Yom Kippur is enacting life longing for itself. And life in nature shows us again and again how it can adapt and evolve and overcome and push through to make way for more and new life. And our rituals on this holiest day are all about this. We can let go to renew ourselves. With this season and this day of holiness, prayer, and Torah, with our immersion and our intentionality with all of it, may we find our own life force pushing through, asserting itself, longing for itself. May we really trust the medicine of Yom Kippur. May we each know atonement by its Hebrew roots, kaf, pei, and resh, which means release, but may we all each know CPR, spiritual healing, being resuscitated with vitality and wholeness of spirit, such that we all, along with all of our beautiful life-giving planet, know a good ceiling for a renewed and vibrant life. And may we do so by lifting each other and facing it all together. Gemar Chatima Tova.